So I also want to speak about what else I actually did in France. Aside from, the sort of intense 2 days where I really absorbed sort of the art that is on display in the Louvre. But we did do different things. We went to a beach in a place called Deauville, which is the north of Paris, if not France, as a whole. And there's a famous casino there. There's a lovely beach that we did actually go to. But I really liked eating the clams that we had. And we had it with some chips. I don't want to say it was the French version of fish and chips, but we got like a bucket with, like, I guess, clams in it. I'm sure I'm not using the correct word. But I really enjoyed those. They were absolutely just so tasty and so refreshing to actually have. Then we went and we sat on the beach and we were just sort of, I want to say, vibing. Um, we swam in the sea as well, which was not too rough. It wasn't too cold either, because I know that most beaches in Europe, like, there's some incredibly cold ones. Even if you have, waves and it's not a calm beach and it's summer, a lot of the beaches are just incredibly cold. Like, you end up covering up to be on the beach, which is something that I don't, in the Caribbean, we don't really have that same experience. It's usually hot, and you're usually wearing less than more when you're on the beach in particular. But it was very refreshing, whatever. Like, it wasn't, I can't really remember that it was so cold that I didn't enjoy swimming. And it is, I guess, a more affluent part of France. I don't want to say it looked like Monaco a little bit, but it really did have that sort of a feeling, you know. A lot of supercars and stuff up there for whatever reason. Something else that absolutely blew my mind was the Seine. There were some days when, for example, Johanna would be in class and I would be by myself, and I would honestly sort of need a bit of downtime. I wasn't really walking around of every single day of the month. There were some days when I just wanted to relax and unwind a little bit more. It may just look like a river in paintings, but I don't know what it is about sort of rivers that flow through cities, but it just has like a very calming energy. And I remember that I bought this book in a very famous bookstore in Paris, and it was in French. First time ever buying a book in French for recreational purposes. Because, up until that point, in Quebec, I wasn't really sure how I felt about, you know, sort of the requirement of being bilingual. But when I was in France, I really enjoyed it, and I started like reading in France in French. So I bought this book about basically the European Union and the so-called corruption that goes on in the European Union, and the way that the particular ministers sort of like weaponize the press to make certain things seem as it was, or that is how that's what the book wanted to create the impression that it was trying to create. Clearly a very French thing to do, right? A very um French subject matter and discussion to have. They say that the French complain nonstop. The French are so apolitical that they actually just speak about politics all the time so they can complain about it. So I did buy a book in French about the sort of the issues within the European Union between the different ministers. And I sat on the Thames and I would read, not the Thames, but the Seine. Okay, I'm not trying to start a war, but I would sit on the banks of the Seine, because there are like, A lot of people, they just sit on the concrete embankment and you can just kind of hang your legs over and like sit. I saw people having dates. I saw people just sort of relaxing with friends. It seems like a thing to do, to actually just come and hang your legs over the concrete embankments and just unwind. So I used to do that. Like, I bought this book. I would go out there, would sort of hang my legs over, and I would just read some days while she was in class, and I sort of got like footage of what the sun looks like as the sun sets, and it was just such a refreshing activity to do, you know? I can't describe it. Like, I've actually seen somebody say that Paris is almost, it feels alive. Like, the pores of the streets almost sort of exude something that you don't really find in other countries. And I just loved being around the Seine when I really needed to unwind, and I didn't want to hustle and bustle and run up and down to catch opening and closing times of attractions. I would just sit there and look at people go about their business, look at groups of people doing their thing. First time ever reading a novel cover to cover in French. Um, so that was just, it's a core memory that I will always have of just, being out there and sitting there and enjoying the Seine, the banks of the Seine. I think that buying books on the banks of the Seine is a very common sort of activity. There are actual like salespeople with carts that sort of line up along the it's hard to describe what I'm trying to say, because it's like you have the street level, okay, then you have pedestrian space, because unlike places like the UK and the US, Europeans are very big on walking, big on cycling. So you have a bit more place to sit, place to walk type thing. And there used to be like just along the pedestrian sort of area, wide pavements, there used to be like these people selling books along just that area, and you would actually see people going there and like buying books and doing what I did basically, which is just sitting on the banks of the Seine and reading and relaxing and taking in the environment. I didn't go on a bateau mouche, which actually made me quite sad because I did actually want to go on one, but I didn't end up going in the end because Johanna didn't really have time for it, and I also felt that I was seeing so much actually just walking around that it didn't really make sense to like pay a boat, even though I'm sure I would have seen a lot that I did not see just by seeing the city via the set. But I can probably go on for hours upon hours upon hours and then about just the Seine alone and the things I did and the things I saw. So it will perhaps be a bit more productive to actually include like pictures and videos at the end of this video. So do check those out. Just can't quantify and explain what being in Paris is like. So I have to show you guys, even though all I have is like an iPhone camera. Um, yeah. So I think that will be it for this part of the video, and I will see you in the next one.